There is a rattlesnake in my car, and my parents put it there to kill me. I said the words calmly to the desk sergeant. I didn't have my purse or my phone. I stood at the police counter with empty hands, shaking. The officer stopped typing and stared at me. Do not open the vehicle, I warned him. Call animal control and call homicide. 20 minutes ago, my father handed me that heavy, vibrating bag. He smiled and gave me a specific instruction. Leave it in the car, Desi. Let it sit in the sun. We want everything warm for the doctor. Warm. He wanted the snake agitated so it would strike the moment I unzipped it. I leaned my head against the glass partition and closed my eyes. I wasn't a daughter anymore. I was a witness. I never thought my own father would turn a leather purse into a coffin. Before I tell you what they found inside, tell me in the comments. What is the one line a family member said to you that made you realize they didn't love you? They just used you. I'm reading every single one. To understand why I didn't scream in that police station, you have to understand the math of my family. I am a forensic accountant. My job is to look at numbers and find the story they are hiding. In my family, the math was simple. I was the asset. My younger sister, Brittany, was the liability. And my parents were the investors who refused to cut their losses. For 7 years, I was the fixer. I paid off my father's credit card debt 3 separate times. I funded my mother's boutique candle business that lasted exactly 4 months. I bought the house we all lived in because their credit scores were lower than the temperature in January. I thought that if I paid enough, I would finally buy my way into being the favorite. I was wrong. The nightmare didn't start with a snake. It started 6 months ago, on a Tuesday. Just like this one. I came home after a 12-hour shift auditing a corporate bankruptcy. My eyes were burning, and all I wanted was to collapse into my bed. But when I walked through the front door, I tripped over something in the hallway. It was a black garbage bag. Then I saw another one. And another. There were 6 30-gallon bags lined up against the wall, stuffed with my clothes, my shoes, and my books. I stood there, blinking, trying to make the data fit the reality. My parents were sitting at the kitchen island, drinking a bottle of Pinot Noir that I had been saving for a special occasion. Brittany was there too. She had just moved back in after her attempt at being a lifestyle influencer in Los Angeles ended in an eviction and a maxed-out credit card. She was wearing my silk robe. What is going on? I asked. My voice was quiet. I was too tired to be loud. My mother, Patricia, smiled at me. The kind of tight, pitying smile you give a child who doesn't understand the rules of a game. Oh, Desi, you're home, she said. We moved your things. Brittany needs the master suite. I looked at the locked door of the bedroom I paid the mortgage on. Excuse me? I said. She's having a crisis, honey, my mother continued, swirling her wine. She's depressed. The guest room is too small and dark. She needs the natural light and the soaking tub to heal her nervous system. We moved you to the sectional in the den. It's temporary. Just until she gets back on her feet. I looked at my father. Donald. He was the one who taught me to balance a checkbook. He was the one who always talked about fairness. Dad? I asked. This is my house. That is my room. He slammed his glass down on the granite counter so hard I flinched. You are so selfish, Desi, he snapped. The venom in his voice shocked me. You are used to suffering. You're tough. You can handle a little discomfort. Look at your sister. She is fragile. If she doesn't have a safe space right now, she might do something to herself. Do you want that on your conscience? Do you want to be the reason your sister gets hurt? I looked at Brittany. She wasn't crying. She was scrolling through social media on her phone, looking bored, secure in the knowledge that her fragility was a weapon that could displace me from my own life. And I did what I had been trained to do since I was 5 years old. I submitted. I didn't fight. I didn't kick them out. I slept on the sectional couch in the den for 3 months, waking up with a backache every morning, while my unemployed sister slept in my king-sized bed, and my parents drank my wine. I told myself it was charity. I told myself I was being the good daughter. But lying there in the dark, listening to them laugh in the kitchen, I started to realize the truth. I wasn't a daughter to them. I was a resource. And resources don't get bedrooms. They get used until they are empty. The breaking point didn't happen with a shout. It happened with a crinkle of paper. 3 weeks after I moved to the couch, I was taking out the kitchen trash because Brittany claimed the smell of coffee grounds made her nauseous. As I tied the bag, a crumpled envelope fell out. It was stained with tomato sauce. But the red stamp on the front was unmistakable. Notice of default. I picked it up. My hands started to shake, not from fear, but from a cold, dawning rage. It was a foreclosure notice for my parents' old house, the house they rented out for income, the house I had given them $45,000 to pay off 3 years ago. I had handed them a cashier's check. I had watched my father cry and promised me the mortgage was gone. They hadn't paid it off. They had pocketed the money. They had been stealing from me for years, looking me in the eye and smiling while they drained my future to fund their present. I didn't confront them. I didn't storm into the living room and wave the paper in their faces. That was what a daughter would do. But the daughter had just died in that kitchen. The forensic accountant took her place. In my line of work, we have a saying: emotions are noise. Data is truth. I needed data. I knew I couldn't just guess their passwords. That's movie nonsense. I needed a way in that was legal, absolute, and invited. So, I went shopping. I came home the next evening with a small white box. I found Brittany in the living room, complaining to our mother about her cracked phone screen. Here, I said, tossing the box onto her lap. She looked at it. Suspicious. It was a brand new iPhone 15 Pro Max. What is this? A peace offering. I lied. My voice was steady. I know things have been tense. I want us to get along. It's on my family plan. So you don't have to worry about the bill. Unlimited data. Her eyes lit up. Greed always overrides caution. She tore the plastic off, but I stopped her. I already set it up for you, I said casually. I didn't want you to have to deal with the data transfer or the carrier settings. It's ready to go. The passcode is 1234. You can change it later if you want. She didn't change it. She didn't even ask why I was being nice. She just grabbed the phone and muttered a thanks before scrolling through Instagram. She didn't realize that by accepting a device on my plan, set up by me, the account administrator, she had just voluntarily handed me the keys to her digital life. I didn't have to hack anything. I just had to log into my own iCloud family account. That night, while they slept in the bedrooms I paid for, I sat on the floor of the den and opened my laptop. I wasn't looking for gratitude anymore. I was auditing my family. The first thing I found was the motive. It wasn't just that they were bad with money. It was terror. I saw a text thread on Brittany's cloud backup from a contact listed only as VIP services. The message received yesterday at 11:42 p.m. was a photo. It was a grainy picture of our front door, taken from a car on the street. The text underneath read, "You owe us $85,000, Brittany. Payment by Wednesday, or we take the girl. We break the legs first. Wednesday." Today was Monday. The deadline was 48 hours away. I sat back. The blue light of the screen, illuminating the room. It made sense now. The panic in my father's eyes, the desperation. They weren't just greedy. They were hunted. They needed 85 grand. And they had zero assets. Except one. Me. I kept digging. I checked the browser history on the family iPad, which was also synced to the account. The search terms made my blood run cold. Western Diamondback, aggression, heat triggers. How long does rattlesnake venom take to cause cardiac arrest? Autopsy signs of accidental animal attack. They weren't planning a robbery. They were planning an execution. Then I found the smoking gun. It was in my father's sent folder. He had used my Wi-Fi to email a shady insurance broker in Henderson. Attached was a PDF file. Application for term life insurance. Insured. Desiernas. Beneficiaries. Donald and Patricia Arnez. Payout. $750,000. I zoomed in on the document. The signature at the bottom was a jagged, pixelated mess, a clear digital forgery. And there, highlighted in a yellow box, was the clause that sealed my fate. Medical exam waived for policies under $1 million in cases of accidental death. They had priced my life. They kept it under $1 million to avoid a nurse coming to check my blood pressure. They needed it to look like an accident, a tragic, random animal attack in the desert, so the payout would be fast. I stared at the number. $750,000. In economics, there is a concept called sunk cost. It's when you continue to pour money into a failing investment because you've already spent so much on it, you can't bear to let it go. I realized then, sitting in the dark, that I wasn't a person to my parents. I was a liquid asset. Brittany was their investment. They had poured their love, their pride, and their money into her for 26 years. She was a failure, a black hole of debt, but she was their black hole. To them, losing her to the loan sharks was unacceptable. It would mean admitting they had failed. So, to save the bad investment, they had to liquidate the good one. They had to cash me out. It wasn't personal. It was just business, and that hurt more than any hate ever could. I closed the laptop. I didn't call the police yet. If I called now, they would just claim it was research for a book or a misunderstanding. I needed them to make the move. I needed them to hand me the weapon. I went to sleep on the couch, listening to the silence of the house, waiting for them to try to kill me. For the next 24 hours, I didn't sleep. I became a ghost in my own house. While my parents watched TV downstairs and Brittany slept in my bed, I built a digital fortress of evidence that would bury them. I didn't need to hack anything. I just needed to look where they were too arrogant to hide. My father was a man who still typed with 2 fingers and wrote his passwords on a sticky note under his keyboard. He assumed I was too busy working to notice what he was doing on my own Wi-Fi network. He was wrong. I logged into the router's admin portal. It's amazing what a router log can tell you if you know how to read it. I matched the device IDs to the timestamps. At 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, while I was asleep on the couch, the family iPad, the one they used to play games, had been busy. I accessed the browsing history synced to the cloud account I managed. The search terms were a roadmap to murder. Western Diamondback versus Mojave Green toxicity. Where to buy venomous snakes, Las Vegas underground. Does heat make snakes more aggressive? That last one made me pause. Heat. They were researching environmental triggers. They didn't just want the snake to bite me. They wanted it into a frenzy. They wanted to ensure that the moment I opened that bag, the creature inside would strike faster than I could react. I took screenshots. I saved the metadata. I organized every search term into a folder labeled premeditation. Then I went for the financial kill shot. I knew my father used my laptop when I was at work because he claimed his phone screen was too small for his emails. He never logged out. I opened his email client and went straight to the sent folder. There it was. An email sent 3 days ago to a broker in Henderson, with a domain name that looked like a shell company. Subject: Application. Desi Arnaz. Attachment: Policy Final. Signed .pdf. I opened the file. It was a term life insurance policy. The coverage amount was $750,000. I stared at the document, analyzing it like it was a corporate balance sheet. Why $750,000? Why not the full $1,000,000? Then I saw the clause on page 4, highlighted in digital yellow. Medical examination waived for policies under $1 million. They had done their homework. If they had gone for the $1,000,000, an insurance nurse would have called me to schedule a blood draw. By keeping it under the cap, they bypassed the one safeguard that would have alerted me. I scrolled to the bottom. There was my signature. Desi Arnaz. It was a decent forgery, probably traced from a birthday card I'd given them. But when I zoomed in to 400%, I saw the pixelation artifacts. It was a copy-paste job. I checked the digital signature timestamp. It was signed at 10:14 in the morning last Friday. I was at the office then, logged into a secure server 20 miles away. I pulled my work logs to prove my alibi. I had them. I had the motive, the means, and the opportunity. But I didn't stop there. I needed to make sure this evidence survived, even if I didn't. I created a secure, encrypted cloud server that wasn't linked to any of my known email addresses. I uploaded everything. The screenshots, the PDFs, the chat logs, the router history. I set up a dead man's switch protocol. If I didn't log in every 24 hours to reset the timer, the entire file would automatically email itself to the district attorney, my boss, and 3 news outlets. I sat back against the wall of the den. The house was quiet. I could hear my father snoring in the guest room. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator. It felt surreal. I was sitting in a house with 3 people who had legally betting slips on my death. And they were sleeping soundly. I looked at the calendar on my phone. Tuesday. The loan shark's deadline was Wednesday. That meant tomorrow was the day. I didn't feel fear anymore. I felt a cold, sharp clarity. They thought they were the hunters, setting a trap for a dumb animal. They didn't realize they had just walked into a cage with a forensic accountant. I closed my laptop. I didn't lock my door. I wanted them to feel safe. I wanted them to think I was still the oblivious, dutiful daughter who would do exactly what she was told. I waited for the sun to come up. Tuesday morning arrived with a sky so blue it looked artificial. The air in the kitchen was brittle, like sponge sugar that would shatter if anyone spoke too loudly. I could smell bacon and coffee, the scent of a normal family breakfast, but underneath it was the metallic tang of adrenaline. My mother, Patricia, was standing by the stove flipping pancakes. She was humming. She never hummed. It was a performance, a frantic attempt to normalize the day before the loan sharks came on Wednesday. Brittany was upstairs, sleeping in. I knew she was awake. I could hear her pacing. She was establishing her alibi, making sure she could tell the police she was in bed when her sister had her tragic accident. "Eat something, honey," my mother said, sliding a plate toward me. "You have a big day. That specialist is supposed to be a miracle worker for stress." I looked at the pancakes. I didn't eat. I took a sip of coffee just to wet my throat. "I'm not hungry," I said. "I should get going. I don't want to be late." "Right," my father said. He was standing by the back door, wiping his glasses. He looked pale. "We packed a bag for you. Just some water bottles, your old medical files, things the doctor might need." He pointed to the kitchen island. There it was. My black leather tote bag. It looked normal. It looked like the bag I took to work every day. But when I reached for it, my mother flinched. "Careful," she said sharply. Then she forced a smile. "I mean, it's heavy." I put 3 large water bottles in there. Hydration is key. I picked it up. It was heavy. And then I felt it. A subtle, rhythmic vibration against the leather. A low, dry hiss that was barely audible over the hum of the refrigerator. My blood turned to ice. It wasn't water bottles. I slung the strap over my shoulder, keeping the bag away from my body. "Thanks, Mom," I said. "You think of everything." My father walked me to the car. The Las Vegas sun was already punishing, the pavement radiating heat waves. We stood by my Honda Civic. This was it. This was the moment. "Listen, Desi," he said, putting a hand on my shoulder. His palm was clammy. "When you get to the clinic, the reception is terrible. Leave the bag in the car while you go in to check in. Lock the doors. We don't want anyone stealing your records." I looked at him. I looked at the man who taught me how to ride a bike. "Leave it in the car?" I asked. He asked me to wait 10 or 15 minutes, saying the heat would protect the documents. He didn't need to explain, I understood. Rattlesnakes are cold-blooded. In the cool house, it was sluggish. In a sealed car under desert sun, it would become frantic and deadly. The moment I opened the bag, it wouldn't just bite, it would attack. I agreed. Got in the car, watched him walk back inside, and drove away. Once out of sight, I pulled over, shut off the AC, rolled up the windows, and let the car heat up. I needed to look shaken, overheated, and terrified when I arrived because I wasn't going to a doctor. I was driving to a crime scene. At the station, I watched my family through the one-way mirror, as Detective Miller called them in. They arrived dressed in black, rehearsed and grieving until the door closed. Then the truth came out. They assumed the snake had killed me, discussed the insurance payout, and worried only about money and debt. I felt no heartbreak, only calm. They weren't predators anymore. They were trapped. Miller played the recording of my father ordering me to open the bag, and Brittany threatening to kill me herself if the snake hadn't. The room went silent. They knew they were caught. I never confronted them. That's what victims do. I filed a civil suit instead and froze their assets. They couldn't afford their lawyer. Brittany took a plea deal. My parents were convicted. I used the lien from my lawsuit to buy the house without spending $1. I renovated it, rented it out, and moved to Chicago. I didn't block them. I deleted them. They're just bad debt, I finally wrote off.